Good evening. Well, good morning. God, it looks like evening outside.
Yeah,
This is Black Machismo here, Hunter, and I'm here with OJ. OJ, how you doing, my friend?
absolutely fantastic. And yourself?
I'm doing well, my friend. This is Zebra Down episode dos. As we head on the road to Wrestlemania, as I'm calling it this year, because we'll get to that, but we have almost an insane amount, dare I say, that we have to talk about today. So OJ, kind of give everyone the rundown, our match card, if you will. What are we going to be talking about today?
Well, today we're going to be starting it off with NXT Takeover San Antonio, going over the results, who won, how we thought the event looked overall, and of course where they're going leading into Takeover, or is it Orlando that WrestleMania is at this
Orlando,
year?
yeah.
Yeah, so to take over Orlando a couple nights before WrestleMania, and then of course we're going to talk about the Royal Rumble. Um, the Royal Rumble and how that card went ahead and went down with who won and why, and of course some very questionable things that happened in there, and of course some discussion about our picks versus who actually won, um, and then of course we're going to talk about the Elimination Chamber as well, and the title picture looking going ahead into Fastlane and into WrestleMania for both Raw and SmackDown. So. Um, yeah, so that's where we're going with this today. And as I always like to say, back in my day, Black Machismo, whenever I went ahead and used to do my own radio show, I always used to lead in with this. And you'll have to forgive me if I go ahead and just recite this out right now.
Oh,
It is
please.
one of my personal favorites. I am your one and only host with the most, the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour, the ladies' pet, the men's regret, and what you don't see is even better yet. And so, my trivia question for you, Black Machismo, is who quoted that, or who said that originally?
Oh, good God. Oh my God, I know this. I'm totally blanking. This is why you don't have vodka at 10 a.m. God damn it.
It is a wrestler.
I
That's
know
what
it.
I'm
I
trying to.
know, and I'm too sweet to be. It's not. Oh, it's not Flair. I know it's not Flair. It's
Not
Oh,
Flair.
it's a Savage, isn't it?
No, it is not. It
Really?
is Hall of Famer, the first ever two-time WWF champion, if memory serves. Please, by all means, correct me on this. But the first two-time champion, the legendary superstar Billy Graham.
God damn it! Stop my second guess, son of a bitch. All right, you
Sorry, I always love leading in with that myself. But
no, no, that's great. I was just sitting here and I was like, I've heard that so many times. I know it. That's why I thought Flair because I attached him to yeah. But
yeah,
you got me. So
hey, hey, it was just a little fun thing there. So let's go ahead and get started with NXT Takeover. San Antonio, the card overall,
yeah, talk about the car.
the card overall, I thought was pretty solid start to finish. Some matches I thought were definitely better than others, and of course, the main event was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that main event just really did it for me because I love Bobby Roode. I love Shinsuke Nakamura. I think they both work really well together. Like the upcoming rematch, and let's be real, the rematch is inevitable. Um, I can only imagine what they're going to bring to that, knowing the kind of chemistry they have this first round. But we'll get to the main event of that soon. First match of the night. Eric Young with his
Sanity.
insanity troop, yeah,
Yeah.
defeating Ty Dillinger,
Your favorite wrestler, yeah, you were.
my favorite.
Yeah, you were so. I know you hate Ty Dillinger, dude. The guy's grown on me, and I know I
I
said
know,
this
yeah.
last podcast, and I don't know what it is, but that perfect 10 gimmick, it, I think it's gotten over in the way that I think they wanted Enzo and Cass to get over, and like they are over, but I just find Enzo annoying for some reason with Dillinger. I don't know. I like the dude, even though he looks like Count Dracula whenever he wears that cape out for these takeover events. It looks kind of weird,
Thank
but
you, thank you.
I mean, I will give you that much. But I don't know. It works for me. But yeah, Young won with that wheelbarrow neck breaker, which is a damn cool looking move. He makes that look like it actually legit hurts whenever he hits it. Uh, yeah, I mean, classic kind of thing here. The numbers game, cop to Dillinger. I thought Dillinger looked good here. I thought Young looked really good here, actually. I think this is the best match he's probably had since he joined NXT. So, I mean, a good match, not a great match, but I thought a pretty solid opener.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. It definitely set a good pace for the rest of the show, though. It wasn't like 5 stars right out of the gate, to say the least. But yeah, and I agree with you. Both of them did look good. And I know I harp on Ty Dillinger, and mainly it's because I just don't like his gimmick. I really don't. I mean, if he's gonna, I think Perfect 10. Like, if you're gonna call yourself that, you need to establish yourself as a heel first, because you think of Perfect 10. Well, who's the first guy you think of with any sort of kind of gimmick like that?
Mr. Perfect.
Bingo. And he was obviously one of the best heels of all time.
True.
And it was because he exuded the arrogance and everything like that. Now, if Ty Dillinger would have gone ahead and done that, I would probably get behind this a lot more. But saying you're a Perfect 10 and like trying to stay over as a face with the crowd is really hard to do, because faces do have to lose a lot in order to make that win, that win over their rival to be that much more important. Um, so that's really kind of where I go with Ty Dillinger. I'd like to see him as a heel myself, but yeah, his Count Dracula cape. Oh man, it kind of it drives me. It doesn't fit, man. It just doesn't fit. But nonetheless, um, I agree. This was the best Eric Young looked since his debut with NXT. It was something that really struck me regarding this is like I'm questioning how much I actually like the whole insanity thing, especially for him. Like,
Yeah, I agree. I,
they'll talk about like, oh, the announcers who try to put them over, like, oh, it's like he hasn't bathed in weeks or days or whatever. It's like, maybe that, pushing the whole like, and to me, they totally have like a Mad Max villain vibe here.
okay, I can
Uh,
see that.
Instead of trying to just like push that kind of like true nuts, like sort of behavior like they do with, oh, what is her name, the girl in the group.
Oh, that's Nikki Cross, I believe,
Thank
right?
you. Yeah, yeah. And instead of trying to push that so incredibly much, I mean, I get the whole off the wall sort of thing, but there's, pardon my lewdness in saying this, but crazies banding with crazies, which is what they're doing with this. Like, I always picture more infighting than anything else, and for them to be like on the same page, it seems a little. Maybe I've watched too many movies, but it seems just very against the grain. But nonetheless, overall, yeah, I mean, the quality of work that they're doing is good. I mean, NXT needs that heel stable right now, so this is good overall. But I really want to see this continue, especially since the outcome of the main event. Of course, Ty Dillinger may get a bit more of a push in NXT now in general. But I'd love to see this continue with Eric Young leading up to kind of like leading up over the weeks and like having a quote unquote final confrontation at Takeover Orlando. I'd like to see it, culminate there, and it might help. It might help get Ty Dillinger over more than he is. I mean, for the skeptics like me, I could use that. So
No, that's fair, and I think they need to have the other couple members of Sandy, because I feel like they've really only showcased Nikki Cross and Eric Young, and they should showcase Nikki Cross more because I think she's the craziest out of all of them, to be totally
yeah,
honest. Um, but yeah, they need to showcase. I'm totally blanking on their two members' names, but they need to maybe show them as a tag team, really kind of build them up, kind of like they have with the Authors of Pain.
yeah.
I'm sure they'll be better wrestlers than Authors of Pain, but yeah, I think you'll see Dillinger against Young again at Orlando, and hopefully Dillinger gets the win. But moving on to the match, I was probably the most surprised by, which is Andrade Somas, who I don't generally like, versus Roderick Strong, who I have liked for a while. I didn't. It felt like they almost maybe added this match in like very last second because I don't remember this being on the card. Actually, it was on the card, but it felt like it was announced like 2 weeks before actual takeover.
Right.
But this match, man, they ever since Salmas went heel, his work has been so much better. Because as a face, I thought he was just lousy, to be totally honest. And Roderick Strong, he's been the messiah of the backbreaker. I fucking love that dude.
Oh yeah.
Has a very hard hitting style. And these guys, I thought their work. This was probably the most surprised I was as far as like a match of the night. I'm not saying this was match of the night, but looking down the card, I saw this match and I went, eh. And this match probably surprised me the most than any of the matches on the card.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was definitely the match of the night, without a doubt. Roderick Strong, what can you say about him? Yeah, man. The way I see the world, or the NXT title picture playing out, I see him being quite possibly that next big challenger for the NXT champion.
Okay.
I could see it happening, or at least getting like, you know how like they'll sometimes tease that kind of rivalry, like the champ gives, just a random title shot out, or not even necessarily a title shot, but a one-on-one match. I see Roderick Strong getting one of those and actually like surprising everyone with how close he comes to beating the champ and that kind of thing. But yeah, and Almas definitely looks so much better as a heel. It works. It's, to me, it's like night and day difference. So. Yeah, this was damn good. This was damn good. Yeah, completely agreement. Sleeper match of the night, which leads us into the next one, which was for the NXT Tag Team Championship.
Sorry.
Well, we saw the Authors of Pain with Paul Ellering defeat DIY. Which I have to say I did not see coming. I called against that. I said Authors of Pain would win, but I thought it was I thought they were gonna win but not win the titles, like by DQ or count out or something.
I feel like I said DIY was gonna lose. I feel like
I believe
said that because NXT has this terrible thing with face tag teams only holding the titles for like a month. I mean, you think about American Alpha, DIY. It's like faces can't hold the titles for more than a month or two until the next takeover, right. And it's really irking. What I will say, the Authors of Pain, they should be buying DIY dinner for like the next 6 months, because they sold for Authors of Pain like no other team has, and they made them look like monsters. And I have to give Ciampa and Gargano, Johnny Wrestling, fucking love that dude. I gotta give them a ton of credit for the way they sold. Sell like Ricky Morton, as the saying goes, and they sold like Ricky Morton for these guys. I don't know. I knew it was coming. I didn't want it to happen. It just really made me sad because I love DIY so much. This is all probably leading to what I would think is a triple threat tag team match at Orlando between DIY, Authors of Pain, and probably the Revival. I think it would be interesting if they made it a ladder match. Just to kind of have, to throw just kind of that monkey wrench in. I think that would be amazing. So, the match was all right. I didn't think the match was great. I just don't think the Authors of Pain are very good workers, to be totally honest. But like I said, DIY made them look good. I was more disappointed just because I knew what the finish was going to be, and yeah. But yeah, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, and I agree with you. DIY definitely sold like Ricky Morton all match long, and it's funny too, because like I really thought that the momentum that DIY was running on was gonna carry them. I really did. I thought that it was way too soon. I think this is bad booking. The only thing I could possibly think of is if they redeem it at Orlando for a rematch. And, a triple threat tag match would be interesting, but I think that Revival is going to be called up before that. I think that at WrestleMania you're going to have some sort of tag team turmoil match, and I think Revival is going to make their debut on the main roster there. That's personally what I think. But this Authors of Pain DIY thing, the problem with making the match, because I mean, for all intent and purposes, man, it was like a long squash,
Yeah.
and I didn't like that. I really didn't like that because it almost seems beating, like, how can I put this? It goes back to, I'm going to use this in a very roundabout way.
Okay.
Brock Lesnar, John Cena. So SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar just destroys him, right? They
Yeah.
have the rematch. What was it? Night of Champions, the following pay-per-view, right? And like you're just sitting there going, I was so not into that match because I was like, whatever, man. Brock destroyed him last time. Doesn't matter. He's not dropping it now. Like, it was such a lopsided win that an immediate rematch, there was no suspense of belief. You know what I mean? And I'm afraid of that same thing happening to this situation between the Authors of Pain and DIY. So that's where, I mean, they're going to have to make DIY mean, I think. I think they're going to need to make them really mean. Like, almost pull off some, like, um, TLC stuff. Now, if that was it, now that would be interesting, actually. A TLC match for the tag titles for NXT
Hmm.
with those two teams, just those two, I would pay to see that. So that's just what I think moving forward. They should kind of do. What do you think about that?
So I mean, the TLC match idea is very interesting. I think the only reason why I uh, I think the revival is it's gonna be a triple threat tag match is because the revival came out, I believe it was last week, I think it was 2 weeks ago in NXT, and they jumped the Authors of Pain. So just leaving that kind of
Mm,
unfinished doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But then again, it is WWE, so you could be right. Maybe they just say fuck it and put them on the main roster. They should. I think they should go to SmackDown
definitely.
because them and American Alpha, you give those guys 15 minutes on pay per view, they would tear the house down.
Agree.
Um, yeah. So let's move on to what I thought was something that I know we've actually talked about, and they finally pulled the trigger on. So as you're wrestling fans, if you're listening to this, more than likely, you know that Seth Rollins was the first NXT champion, and that Triple H, NXT is his baby, and so he's always at the takeover shows and all that. And I was sitting there thinking, and I know me and James talked about this, was if you're Seth Rollins, why wouldn't you just go to NXT? And so go and this is why I have such a love-hate relationship with WWE is because every now and then they'll do something dumb like have Batista win the Royal Rumble or Reigns or put Reigns in at number 30, which is some of a spoiler for what we'll talk about later. But these things that make you pull your hair out and go, who the fuck is writing this? And then they'll do something like this where I go, oh wow, that's actually brilliant booking. God damn it, I have to give you credit. So Seth Rollins comes out freaking out, and I think we can both agree that since he's turned face, it's been not awesome.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would, um, and I feel like they're trying to make him more like a standard. They're trying to make him like an Apollo Crews type face instead of like a CM Punk sort of face. In the sense that he's more of an anti-hero than like a pure face, if that makes
yeah.
sense. And and so this was Rollins just freaking out, which if someone cost me my championship, I would be too. And that's another thing WWE does that does irritate me is when a face loses a championship, they kind of are like, oh, well, that sucks, but I'm gonna keep going and whatever. Rollins was pissed, and he should be pissed. So he calls out Triple H. The crowd is freaking out, as well they should have been. Triple H comes out, no music, which I thought was a very nice little touch too, and he has security come and drag Rollins out. But I thought this was really, really effective, actually, in the weave in storylines like this on occasion. I mean, not all the time, but if they can find a way to make it seem organic like this between NXT and the main shows, oh, absolutely. I thought this was so well done. Yeah, OJ,
Oh
your
yeah,
thoughts
no,
on
I
this?
thought it was a fantastic segment, an absolutely fantastic segment. And just to piggyback off of that, I know we're talking about Takeover San Antonio, but I'd like to talk about this whole Seth Rollins thing just for a couple minutes.
Oh, of course.
I loved Seth Rollins' promo on Takeover, and I loved Triple H's reaction because that was executive Triple H doing that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then, but the promo that Triple H cut on Raw, damn. That was I think his best promo in 3 years.
I'll give you
Yeah,
that.
I mean, just like the moment where where he puts his hand up to his face and says that how hard he's trying to not be who he was, I was just like, wow, yeah, this has me, sucked in here, like, because we all remember Triple H. I used to bag on this guy all the time. I used to bag on him all the time because of all the times, he just constantly won. Because, yeah, but he pulled off that, all the stuff that he did with the sledgehammer, all the stuff that the backhanded stuff he did to succeed and everything. You could see all of that kind of like flash before you when he says that. And
Yeah.
I thought it was again best promo in 3 years. And going to the further that along, I will say I was really looking forward to a Samoa Joe Seth Rollins match. That would have been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait for that. It looks like.
And I
I
watched. I'm sorry to interrupt though, but
no good. No good.
one thing I noticed that I've read reactions that's really kind of gotten under my skin. They're saying about Samoa Joe injuring Seth Rollins. Like, I watched the moment where Seth Rollins hurt his knee.
I did too.
That's not on Joe. That's on Rollins not falling right. Because he left that leg planted. He left that leg planted, and you see it bend. That's he should have left that up, in my opinion. Like, the moment that he was gonna take him down, because you could feel the shift in momentum. But again, we're not in the ring, we're not in the middle of it all. But I think I don't think Joe should get any heat for
I
what
agree.
happened. Because I mean, it is also a surgically repaired knee. Those things, they can hurt a lot more, but or they can get injured a lot more often. But nonetheless, what's the latest on Rollins? Prognosis is kind of 50-50.
So the way they're saying is that apparently he's going to be back for Mania, which I think that's such a bad idea to have a guy who uses so much, you know, high flying offense back at like the minimum you're supposed to be back at. I think that's a bad call, um, personally, but in this match, it seems like this match is cursed because this was supposed to happen at last year's
Yep.
Mania. It didn't happen, and then now this year's Mania. I know they're saying Rollins should be back, but I don't know, man. I think it's a bad call rushing back, but uh, I will give I will give WWE credit. I thought this segment worked really well, but yeah, Rollins, if you can get back, man. I mean, I'd be curious to see the match and to see. By the way, stop using the pedigree. Come up with another move. Like, good God, I'm so sick of seeing him use the pedigree. It just really irritates me, and I'm sure that's not great for your knee either. So I don't know. Use that Phoenix Splash or something. I don't know. But anyways, um, and then we move on to the the NXT Women's Championship. Isn't it nice to have a championship that wasn't called the Divas title?
Oh,
Fucking WWE. Is this not a big giant fucking butterfly? Like, hey, women, you love butterflies, right? Just no. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go off about WrestleMania here later on because I was rewatching some things. I'm like, God, WWE is such a sexist goddamn company. Just god damn it. It's just fucking butterfly belt. Do you remember when they had a unification match between Michelle McCool and Melina, and it's like, all right, we're combining the belts. Which one should we keep? There's this one with a lot of prestige that the Fabulous Moolah, China, Lita, and Trish Stratus have held. And then there's this other one that Layla held. Which one do we want to go ahead and keep? The Layla one. Perfect. The one that looks like a butterfly? Fuck yeah. Women love butterflies. Just dumbass fucking company. I swear to God. Anyways,
that was good.
but I just Anyway, so we get on to the fatal four way match for the NXT Women's Championship. So, uh, I think it's fair to say that since the four horsewomen were pulled off of NXT, that the women's divisions needed to be buffed a little bit. It's definitely getting kind of struggling. There's some people there. What's the blonde girl's name? Is that Billy Kay?
I
I
think
think.
so too. Yeah.
Um, yeah, she's grown on me. I mean, she's not great in the ring yet, but she reminds me of Alexa Bliss, where I think she's just naturally athletic. I think that'll help her out a
Yeah.
lot. Um, and then Peyton Royce and Billy Kay, I actually genuinely like as a kind of alternative beautiful people. Like we're just gonna be bitches. I don't know. That's kind of always worked for me, even though it didn't work for me with Lay Cool. Maybe because Layla's just garbage in the ring. God, I'm just on a Layla kick today. God, Layla's so bad in the ring. Anyways, so between Peyton Royce, Billy Kay, Nikki Cross, and then Asuka, who is just pretty much the Goldberg of women's wrestling. It's not fair how like anytime she hits someone, I just wince.
Yeah.
It always looks so goddamn vicious. I swear to God. But uh, a good match. I think the biggest problem for me with this match is that I think they cut it like 5 minutes too short. I think they needed another 5 minutes to kind of ramp up to the tension for the match. That spot where Royce and Kay suplex Nikki Cross with the announcer's table, I thought that, or like through the table set up next to the announcer's table, I thought was really freaking well
Yeah.
done. Yeah, I thought, and like we kind of said earlier, Nikki Cross, she reminds me of the the hot ex girlfriend who shopped at Hot Topic all the time. She just looks, she, I mean, she looks fucking crazy. I think she's the craziest one in Sanity over Eric Young, and that's saying something. I think she has a lot of potential. She reminds me of Daphne, and I always thought Daphne was so underrated and really hot too, so that's probably part of it, but. I really like Nikki Cross. It would have been cool to see her win the title, but come on, we all knew. We all know it's Ember Moon who's gonna beat Asuka at Takeover Orlando. But yeah, good match. I thought the ending just kind of came from fucking nowhere. Did you kind of feel like
Yes, I
that?
did actually, and you know, honestly, I would have changed. I would have changed the booking. You know how Fatal Four Ways go. Champion doesn't have to be involved in the decision to lose it. And I thought they really lost out on an opportunity there to to take the title away from Asuka and have her win it back. Because I think Asuka and Nikki Cross could have a lot more going for them. Like I would like to see. I would have liked to have seen Nikki Cross pin either Billy Kay or Peyton Royce, and then Asuka get her rematch at Orlando and really see what her and Cross can do, because I think that's something that won't get explored, right? Is with this feeling I'm starting to get, but and then actually have Nikki Cross win that match and then take on Ember Moon, because I think they need a heel at this point to have that belt. I mean, well, Asuka's getting that arrogance about her anyway, so
Well, like the problem is though, like, and you bring this up. You notice that when Asuka was fighting Bailey, they were pushing Asuka really as the
yeah,
heel. Um, but the problem is they don't have any baby faces that are as endearing as my future wife. Um, uh, I think Ember Moon is good and she has a lot of potential. Uh, Kind of to segue real quick, did you notice her? Do you see her on? I think it was the Elimination Chamber panel or the NXT panel. It was the pre-show. It was not awesome, and I felt really bad for her. She looked like deer in the headlights. It was uncomfortable, so she needs some mic work. But yeah, Asuka Ember Moon. I'm curious about the match. I don't know how good it will be though. I guess is what I would kind of
yeah,
say. So, and we go on to the main event, which uh, yeah, we both called this, if memory
yes,
serves.
indeed.
So the battle of the two men with the best entrances in WWE, Bobby Roode versus Shinsuke Nakamura, hell of a match, man. And all I was sitting there thinking is, man, Nakamura has better chemistry with Rude than he did with Joe, and I really wanted that chemistry to be there with Joe, and I just never kind of felt it. from the opening bell of this contest, I felt like there's chemistry between these two.
And I definitely agree that the chemistry was not what we expected. I really questioned both of their styles to be too different, but
Or too strong. Sorry.
um, nonetheless, though, I'm really looking forward to the rematch. I want this to be a ladder match at the next Takeover. That's what I want. Because I'd love to hear what Bobby Roode cuts his promos on. Because, they did the whole injury to the leg bit to get that going. I'd love to hear Bobby Roode basically tell Nakamura that he wouldn't have a leg to stand on enough to climb the ladder to pull the belt down, so that's why I'm going to win. But nonetheless, man, I can't wait for them to be on the main roster and have more matches like this on a more regular basis. Those guys, that was the match of the night, and it should have been for the main event. It was fantastic. Dare I say glorious. Yeah. And yeah, right call. Bobby Roode, NXT champion. That's the right move right now, especially going into WrestleMania, WrestleMania weekend, I should say, for Takeover Orlando. As an early call, of course, I see Bobby Roode holding on to the title then, and of course Nakamura getting called up from there. But man, I hope, as much as I want to see Bobby Roode hold on to the NXT title, and as much as I want to see him get called up to the main roster too, because I think that's just a talent who should have been called up right away, but that's neither here nor there. I really want Bobby Roode to hold that title for a long time and just dominate NXT before coming up. But nonetheless, fantastic match. Great way to end the card. And that match alone, I personally feel, brought the quality of the show up at least 10% on the match alone, if not 20%. Like, oh, this is an all right show to, damn, that was a good show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this was the weakest Takeover event for me, but it was still better, I thought, overall than what we're about to talk about, which was the Royal Rumble. And I know people are gonna say, "What? What about?" Hear me out. Mm-hmm. So we're just gonna go through the pre-show really quick because I rarely watch the pre-show. So Becky Lynch, Nikki Bella, Naomi versus Alexa Bliss, Mickie James, Natalya. Naomi hit a split-legged moonsault, a really nice one actually, I must admit, on Alexa Bliss to set up their one-on-one match at
Which
Chamber.
I called that finish, by the way.
Yes, you did. You did. I was actually quite impressed. I sat there like, God damn it, he did call this. And then we had Sheamus and Cesaro. That's a whole nother problem I'll get to in a second. Defending against the Club. So Anderson, I remember. So Anderson won him with a roll up, by the way, which just kind of irritated me. And then last but not least, Nia Jax fought Sasha Banks. What a fucking shame! Like 2 months ago, Sasha Banks is like main eventing a pay-per-view, and she's on the fucking pre-show with Nia Jax. That's gotta hurt. But just going through the three matches real quick, I thought the 6-woman tag was alright. Mickie James is just a goddess to me, so I'm actually happy to see her back. She looks good in the ring. Alexa Bliss, I really enjoy. Natalya is pretty good. Nikki Bella, as much as I don't like her, has gotten better in the ring. Naomi's probably the most athletic diva they have, and then Becky Lynch, is Irish and she has the brogue, and it just makes me swoon. So, I mean, but honestly, a good match between 6 women. I just think they do tag matches with the divas too much and don't give them their own individual stories. But that's just me. And then the Club winning the tag titles on a fucking pre-show just really irritates me. This should have been on the main show. It really should have been, and that just bothers me on that level. And then Nia Jax has been a flop. She's not athletic enough like Awesome Kong was. She doesn't sell nearly as well as Awesome Kong does, and I don't care. She should have stayed in NXT for another 8 months.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. And I think I think this booking was just terrible use of Sasha Banks. Like, have Nia Jax squash someone else, not Sasha, not a 4 horsewoman. Like, you save that for like. Okay, so let me put it to you this way. I'm looking at the match time for that, 5 minutes and 10 seconds. That's bullshit. That is
Yeah.
absolute bullshit. They could have had Sasha Banks just come out and be like, "Well, I'm just gonna outlast her in the ring. I'm just gonna use my smaller size and endurance to outlast the big monster. Make them like actually work the match instead of, well, Sasha Banks selling like Ricky Morton all the entire match." But yeah, I mean, and Nia Jax does not need this push at all. Like, not in the slightest. Like I don't even pay attention to her matches. But going to the tag title match real quick, my 2 cents. I'm happy that Gallows and Anderson have the tag titles. I
I am
love
too.
those guys. It should have been on the main show, and I agree with that. And it should have been a longer match too. And the roll up doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me because I think like finishers are just that, like it's like, oh, they're going for their big finish, and like a lot of times they kick out, a lot of times it's the end of the match. To see something end, especially a title change on a roll up, like people don't see coming, like, oh shit, that's unexpected. Like I should be more invested in the match to like be on the lookout for this kind of thing. It's like what, but it has to be used right. And here's the instance I'm gonna use. If you go back to Flair Savage at WrestleMania 8,
Yeah.
Savage won on a roll up. And that worked out really well because the drama had been building and building and building and building the entire match. So for Savage, who'd been getting his ass kicked the whole night, to win on a roll up when Flair was being Flair works really well. And I think it's a solid finish when it's done right. Was it done right at the Royal Rumble for the tag title match? I don't necessarily think it was done right, but I don't think it was done wrong either. I think it just needed to be a bit longer of a match. But in the 6 woman tag match, you know, um, they all put out quality work in general. So I mean, it wasn't terrible. It's just that I agree that they weren't given enough one-on-one time or time to really shine on their own. Which brings us to the main card. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I know. We're gonna start with the women's championship, Bayley and Charlotte Flair, which hey man, I called
you
this one.
you did. I know you did. And here's what I'm gonna say. We disagree on Charlotte. I think Charlotte's solid in the ring. I don't think she's as like Michael Cole the other day said Charlotte has already established herself as one of the greatest women's champions in history. I'm like, okay, let's slow the roll a little bit there because I don't think that's true at all. But I will give her credit where credit's due. She put on a hell of a match again with my future wife Bailey. My thing on these matches, man, can we stop having the matches given away on Raw and then treated like they're a huge deal when the pay-per-view comes around? Because they do that shit all the time. Like, how many times have we seen Owens versus Reigns? Like, I would probably give more of a shit if I didn't have to watch it every fucking week. And I think this is the third or fourth time already that Charlotte and Bayley have fought on the main card. And I'm like, don't do that. Like, put the divas in tag matches. But here's something that they don't do often at all, enough at all. Put them in like mixed tags. I remember one of my favorite Raw main events ever. I believe it was Cena, Carlito, and Trish against Rated RKO and Lita. And it was if memory serves, Orton RKO Trish and Lita Pinder, and I was like, God, what a fucking asshole. But that was one of my favorite main events because it was different. But we keep seeing these matches that are pay-per-view matches on Raw, so it feels less special. But anyways, I'm feeling very ranty today about
No,
WWE,
it's
but
okay.
yeah, good match though. Charlotte really looked very very predatory here. She real and Bailey, who I think is probably the best seller in the women's division, really made Charlotte look like $1,000,000. I mean, Charlotte doesn't need a whole lot of help in that aspect, but uh, good chemistry between two of them. The natural selection on the apron was vicious. I was like, God damn! Like when she hit it, it was rough to watch as a Bayley fan. So Charlotte, what is she at now? I think she's like 14, like 16-0 at pay-per-views or some dumb record like that. I don't
Yeah.
care. I can't wait. I can't wait till that record gets broken because they're touting like the Undertaker streak. I'm like, okay, let's like let's relax here, WWE. But admittedly impressive, so good for her.
And
But
yeah, and I gotta say, I really like that finish. I'm glad Bayley didn't tap. I think that natural selection, and not just natural selection, but on the apron, it makes it more of a devastating thing. Like, I don't think it makes Bayley look weak.
I agree.
And that I think they did the right way by if they're going to maintain, Charlotte's um, pay-per-view record, which let's just briefly follow up with the aftermath on that. Bayley winning the women's title, what was it, this past Monday?
Yeah.
I'm going to jump on your rant here for just a second. Enough with the
Please.
women's title changes on Raw.
Yep.
Enough of that. Like,
Yep.
if you're going to make a point to put Bayley over as champion, they needed to do it at the Rumble.
Yep.
They absolutely needed to, because now it feels like, I don't know. Clearly they're going to... They have the rematch at Fastlane, right?
Charlotte will win it.
And then Bayley should get a rematch as well, which would be at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Do you think, let me ask you, do you think this is the point where that pay-per-view streak gets broken?
This is what I would do, because you're right. I read on one website they're saying, well, I think the title matches make or the title changes make the women's championship feel more important, and even after this week, the person had to go, okay, I'm over this shit, because it is ridiculous. It's hot potato between Sasha and Charlotte, and now it's with Bayley entered in. So this is what I would do, because I know they're gonna do at least part of this anyway. Charlotte's gonna win the title back at Fastlane. That's happening.
Yeah.
They're not gonna have Charlotte's first pay-per-view loss be at Fastlane, which is a dumb fucking title. God, who?
Yeah, who does make these?
Seriously, Fastlane? That's the best you could come up with. Just. Anyway, so at Dumb Lane, Charlotte won the title back. And so then we're going to Mania. So what I think will happen is we'll get a triple threat between Charlotte, Bayley, and Sasha. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. And I know some people say, I don't like seeing multi-person matches. Well, tough shit, okay? And God help me if they throw Nia Jax in there. That would just be terrible. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do. But I would have Sasha turn heel in that match. I would have her hit Bayley with a chair or use brass knucks, like something really vicious, and turn Sasha back heel, because Sasha is such a better heel in the face. Like she kind of like with AJ Styles, like Styles, does heel shit, but people just cheer him because, he's the phenomenal one. They should just stick with that with Sasha Banks, because they just turned Sasha face because people were saying, chanting, we want Sasha and all that. Keep her heel. She's such a good bitch, and I mean that in, like, the most respectful way. Keep her heel. And then you can go ahead and have Sasha hold the title until SummerSlam and lose it back to Bayley, because it's going to be in Brooklyn. And then you have the built-in NXT storyline of, their history in Brooklyn at NXT Takeover. Boom. See, just wrote a storyline right there. Like, it's nothing. So, why can't you guys do that? But that's what I would do. Yeah, your kind of final thoughts before.
Yeah, I mean, I'd almost like to see. I mean, since WrestleMania is going to be 4 hours, they're going to need to fill in some time there.
Oh God, 4 hours. Christ.
I know. Hey, SummerSlam was, I think, Survivor Series was 2. I don't remember. Nonetheless, I digress. I'd like to see Sasha Banks get the win over Nia Jax at Mania and keep Bayley Charlotte 1-on-1, and actually have Bayley legitimately pin clean Charlotte and win back the title there. I am a big Charlotte fan, but and you can't have her be champ the entire time. And I think WrestleMania is a good time for that pay-per-view streak to be over. I think Bayley being the champ for a couple months after that is the way to go. And I think they need to turn Charlotte into super vicious, basically after being embarrassed at Mania. That's how I would personally book it.
That's fair.
But yeah, I think the time is now to have Bayley like kind of be the new face of the women's division for a while. And yeah, I think it's time. And I think Mania is the perfect time to do it. But you have to also you have to make the opponent look strong too to make the win that much more important. And I think think if she they play it out this way, it's going to really legitimize a Bayley run with the women's title. But yeah, and that brings us to a much better match than I thought it was going to be.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Kevin Owens defeating Roman Reigns with the help of Braun Strowman.
Wait, was he not fighting Rocky Maivia? Because by the crowd reaction, just turn Roman heel. Stop fighting it.
Sorry. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. But I gotta say, I called Kevin winning, but not that way. That way. I was really hoping they'd do something else with Chris Jericho in that cage. That sexy pinata. But
love that man.
I just want to say one thing. I think my favorite spot in the entire Royal Rumble was Kevin Owens doing the frog splash on Roman through the table. I loved it. I thought it made Owens look good. It made Reigns look good to be able to take a hit like that. I mean, let's face it. Owens is a big guy, and he turned in midair doing that. Shades of one of my all-time favorites, RVD. In that match, I enjoyed it. But I think it was because of Kevin Owens, and I'm a huge Kevin Owens mark in that regard.
Mark.
Right. But yeah, glad Kevin won. Glad Reigns lost. Your thoughts?
Okay, so I know people go, you gotta give Roman Reigns credit. Come on. No, I give Roman Reigns no credit. You know what? I'm so sick of this goddamn dude. It's Rocky Maivia all over again. And the thing about WWE, and we'll get to this when it comes to the winner of the Royal Rumble, is that WWE finds themselves in this position every year, and they go, why can't we build new stars? Why can't we build new stars? Maybe because you shove the wrong ones down fans' throats when we say adamantly, we don't want this. Please don't give us this. And yet Vince McMahon, in his old crotchety self, is like, oh, you say you wanted this? Oh, well, I'm going to give you the total opposite of what you want. And Roman Reigns, dude, you're not D'Lo Brown. Take off the chest protector. I'm just really sick of, anytime he's hitting the chest. You remember at Hell in a Cell, they had Rusev hitting him in the chest, and Michael Cole's like, "Oh, that's gonna cave Reigns' chest in." I'm like, he has a giant chest. Come on, guys, really, I have eyes, right? But so yeah, with that frog splash, cool spot, but I was like, yeah, you're wearing a chest protector, screw you.
Mm-hmm.
But so a couple things that did irk me. I've never been more excited to see Braun Strowman than when he put Reigns to that table. I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, all right. I was like, at this point, does it make Owens look weak? Yes, it does. And I think they've made Owens look way weaker in his whole title reign than he has had any right to look. And I think that's a big booking problem they need to address with whomever the next champion is. But yeah, the frog splash was a great spot. I will give Reigns credit for the Superman punch spot off the apron that sent Owens through 20 chairs.
That was nice.
That looked painful as shit, and I felt bad for Owens. And then he got that followed up with a powerbomb through the announcer's table. So a rough couple spots for Owens. And then he took that Simone drop through the chair too. So what I will say that really did bother me though is Jericho dropped down brass knucks, and Owens Superman punched Reigns with brass knuckles, and Reigns kicked out. And I just kind of thought, wow, okay, really? Hit with brass knuckles and just...
I agree. That should have been the finish right there. That should have been the end. Just straight out right there. I thought it was over then, and I was like, that's appropriate. Let that happen. But yeah, I think they dropped the ball there with that.
Yeah, so that was dumb. But moving on, we go after that. We had Rich Swann against Neville, the king of the cruiserweights. I love the fact that Neville just looks like a really young Snidely Whiplash now with with his facial hair. If you guys don't know who that is, it's a very old reference, but Google it and you'll probably get a chuckle. I enjoyed this new like dick side of
I did too.
Neville because he
I did
kind
too.
like there's maybe no one more overdue for a heel turn than maybe Kofi Kingston, but but that's not happening for a while because dude, New Day's pushing merch. But
Right.
but yeah, I was really impressed with Neville in this match. And Rich Swann, the cruiserweight title, it has not been as bad with the hot the hot potato with it, but there's a little bit of it. So I hope Neville holds the cruiserweight title until at least SummerSlam, and then I personally would have gentleman Jack Gallagher win the title from him because I just fucking love that dude. But yeah, Neville using a kind of a modified version almost of the Rings of Saturn, which was actually kind of cool to see him use for a submission win to win the championship. So I'm I'm pumped about this. And Neville's doing a lot of the little things that make a heel. You know how he'd normally climb the second rope and like put his hand like kind of pose. He went to go do that to start the match and he stopped and just kicked the turnbuckle and looked out at the fans. I went, okay, see, that's the shit that that gets you that gets you heat. So yeah, I enjoyed this match. So what'd you think
Oh,
of it?
I did too. And Neville winning the cruiserweight title is the right move. I really like his new pacing in the ring too. Like he's a lot more slower and methodical with flashes of what he would do as a face, and I think it
Yeah.
really works for him. And the fact that let's be real, man, he's way bigger than the rest of them. Just like the
Yeah.
shoulder, from shoulder to shoulder, I'm just like, damn, this guy is like a total inverted triangle here, and he looks physically imposing, and I think it really works for what they're doing. So I'm excited to see how the cruiserweights keeps turning out. And I agree, SummerSlam, hold it then. And yeah, I think it was a great match, or not a great match, a good match, and yeah, good call in my opinion to have Neville win it, which now brings us to
Uh...
a hell of a match, nonetheless.
Boo.
This
Boo,
was
boo, boo.
John Cena defeated AJ Styles to match Ric Flair's record of 16 championship wins.
Oh, okay. Whoa. By the way, let's just backtrack on that. Didn't Flair? I believe Flair is actually total won like 21 world titles. I believe.
I mean, they tout him as 16, and that's what they're tying it up as. I don't
Yeah, because it's
remember what else
WWE
he
and
might have won. I mean, like his NWA, WCW, and WWF titles are what they're counting.
I'm gonna.
No.
Sorry, go
By
ahead.
all means, correct me if I'm wrong. Because I mean, let's be real. They don't count certain things. Like you could make the argument that Hulk Hogan is a 14-time champ alone if you count his 6 WCW title reigns, his 6 WWF title reigns, and then his 2 IWGP title reigns. If you wanted to count those, because IWGP doesn't get the attention that it deserves, but I mean, I personally feel that the IWGP titles are a legitimized world title. But so I mean, that number could fluctuate for Flair as well, is what I'm getting at. But nonetheless, I'm just gonna say it now. This was bullshit, grade A bullshit, and this is terrible booking because, especially with how Elimination Chamber went, and we'll get into that. AJ Styles needed this win more. And he needed this win, in my opinion, more than the SummerSlam win that he had. I mean, don't get me wrong. That was a clean win, 1, 2, 3. And AJ Styles, fantastic world champion. We know he will be again. It's a matter of when versus if. He needed this win over John Cena more than Cena needed it over Styles. And yeah, I mean, but it was a great match. For the finish, for what it was, if they were dead set on making Cena go over, I liked the finish that they did because it was like, okay, you had to like double up on everything in order to put Styles away. It did not make Styles look weak. Especially when he kicked out of the AA off the top turnbuckle. That I thought that match was done then, and for him to kick out of that, I was like, "Fucking A, man, let's keep this going." A good solid way to start out the pay-per-view or the year though for either one of them because that is a damn good match from start to finish.
Yeah. I look, we both called AJ losing. We knew it was coming. It was just me being mentally prepared, trying to mentally prepare myself for it. But what I'll say, I mean, there were a couple spots I really did enjoy. Um, Styles putting the STF on Cena, I thought
I
was a
did
really
too.
cool spot. And then Cena reversing out of that into the figure floor. I thought that was, the figure four was pretty apropos, which Styles did reverse into a cross arm breaker. There were so many good spots in this. You're right. That Avalanche AA was a hell looked vicious when he hit it, and he hit it at SummerSlam. He kicked out, but there was that thought where that's gonna be enough, and so when he kicked out, I will say one thing that did make me laugh is when Styles went for the second phenomenal forearm. Cena countered it, hit the AA, and then did the worst roll I've maybe ever seen to set up the fourth AA. It just looked really weird. It was supposed to look cool, and I just thought it looked like a toddler trying to roll for the first time. It just looked really weird, but whatever. Hit the fourth AA, Cena wins. Ooh, God, just I'm so sick of Cena. So yeah, he according to WWE logic, I feel like Flair's won more than 16 world titles. But that's what WWE's announcing because it's WWE history. But whatever. So Cena wins. I'm sad. Thankfully he lost it recently. But and then that brings us to the Royal Rumble. I'm gonna be honest with you, James. This is almost becoming like like an in joke with wrestling fans, where it really is like, how can WWE fuck up the Rumble this year? What can they possibly do to make me more upset than they did last year? Uh, who won last? I'm trying to remember who won last year. Was it Reigns?
Yeah. No, it
See,
was Triple H because he won the title.
oh, that's right. God damn it. See, that's my point. I can't even remember who's won the last couple of years. Like, the Rumbles have just been really bad. I mean, for a while, honestly. Uh, oh God, I'm trying to think of the last one I really enjoyed. Oh man, I think the one that Edge won was probably the last one I went. Oh my God, that was awesome. Because yeah, every other Rumble's been pretty predictable or booked poorly, and this one for the most part pretty much followed suit. I gotta give James credit here at the gate. He totally called Ty
I did.
Dillinger at 10, and you totally called that, and that was probably the biggest pop I got. I was like, oh my God, good for him. I won't lie. I marked out like a motherfucker for that. I was like, oh, Dillinger, fuck yeah. And then Jack Gallagher being in there was wonderful, just because I just genuinely adore that man. Uh, using the umbrella was
That
really great.
was.
But
I remember I was watching it, going, "What the hell?" But hey, I mean, it worked. I could definitely see how because that was my first like real exposure to Gallagher, and
oh, he's wonderful. He's a classic gentleman. I fucking love that dude. And I love that oh god, Corey Graves just marks the fuck out whenever Gallagher whenever he comes out. He doesn't like faces, but he loves Jack Gallagher as well. He should. Uh, what I mean, this was just I don't know, man. I feel like WWE doesn't know how to book a Rumble anymore. Like I'm really kind of getting that point. Maybe does Pat Patterson just stay home? Does he just not want to touch a Rumble anymore? Because I know Pat Patterson knows how to book a Rumble, so it's clearly not him doing these because he would know what the fuck he's doing. But you know, Enzo Amore was 27th entrant for no goddamn reason. Even though Sting Lesnar,
man, I loved it.
I was thinking about you because I know how much you can't stand Enzo and how you were probably just sitting there like, yes, like get him, bro.
Corey Graves, like epitomized exactly what I was thinking during the whole bit between Enzo and Brock. Like everything Corey Graves said, I was thinking. I was like, yes, this is finally happening. He's gonna destroy him. And I have to say, as much as I don't like Enzo, and I'm just laughing about this, when he took the shoulder from Brock, he couldn't have sold that any better, man. He just flopped like he was dead. I'm just like, damn, that guy. But
yeah, that I mean, so yeah, there was just really nothing about this Rumble that I genuinely was super stoked about. So someone who came out number 22 was Apollo Crews. They have booked him so goddamn poorly. It just genuinely makes me sad. And as athletic as that dude is, he should be better booked. Probably the hardest, like maybe my happiest moment is when Ellsworth came out and then Ambrose came out and Strowman was in the ring and Ellsworth acts like or Ambrose acts like, all right, we're gonna jump in the ring at the same time and get him, and he just lets Ellsworth slide in, and Strowman just threw him like a lawn dart. That made me really happy. So
that was great.
So yeah, that was great. And then this the last, like the one, like I would say great sequence in the Rumble is like Zayn hit a haluva kick and then Corbin clotheslined Strowman over by himself. I was like, Jesus Christ! Like, so they made Corbin look like a badass, and I think this year, by the end of the year, you heard it here first, Corbin will be a world champion by the end of the year. I think he's on for big things. I think he'll win it at SummerSlam. I'm gonna call it right now. Book it. I think he's winning at SummerSlam. But yeah, kind of back to your thoughts.
I think this was a real okay. So biggest bitch that I have about the Royal Rumble. Samoa Joe should have debuted.
That's
one of them.
Really?
I thought, and here's why. That number 30 spot would have been perfect. Absolutely would have been perfect.
Okay, that's where I was going. Okay.
And to have Reigns come out at 30, what in the holy fuck were they thinking? Because I thank God he did not win, because I was just like, oh, this is it. That's bullshit. Flip the table. I'm going home. And Joe should have debuted. We could have had, oh my God, just because Reigns took that spot means Joe wasn't going to be in there. I so wanted the three-way stare down between Samoa Joe, Brock Lesnar, and Goldberg. The hardest hitting guy in WCW, the hardest hitting guy in TNA, and the hardest hitting guy in WWE to stare each other down. That is beyond missed opportunity. I still think they should have had Sting in there for 2 minutes to have him throw some hands with The Undertaker to get that out of the way. And let me talk about The Undertaker. I'm saying it right now. That man needs to retire. He looked terrible. Absolutely terrible. They should not, I mean, I understand he's coming off hip surgery. They should not have had him work the Rumble. They should just not. And he looks 30 pounds overweight. He looks shitty. And then, of course, to have Reigns eliminated, you know, if they want to turn Reigns heel, this may be the way to do it. Because, I mean, if Undertaker is going to retire, and I'm saying it now, he needs to. He's done. Like I agree. Oh God, I mean, it's sad to see how he looked in the ring. It really was. He looked like shit, and I guess he was really hurting after the match. But you know, Reigns eliminating Undertaker says a lot, and if they're going to move forward with that match at WrestleMania, like, Undertaker needs to retire at that match, and he needs to be put down. Like, how I would book that: Reigns with a chair and just doesn't stop until the Undertaker stops moving and pins him, and then that's it. That's how you do the heel turn, and that's how you make the Undertaker put over someone whose yard it's going to be, since they both like to use that phrase. But I'm just saying, man, like, this, the way they treated Roman Reigns in the Rumble, like, with all of that, man, just was fucking stupid. And Goldberg squashing Lesnar again, I
Your
felt was
thoughts on that?
unnecessary. I actually thought it should have been the other way around. And I think, I think it should have been the other way around, personally. I think Lesnar needed to have some token of revenge. Some token, even though knocking someone over a top rope isn't beating them in a minute 19 seconds, but or however long the Survivor Series match was. But a lot of, I don't know, Sami Zayn looked, I think, the best coming out of the Rumble.
I agree.
And he's my pick to win it next year. And I think he's going to win it from number one, because it's been a long time since we've had that.
True.
I think that Braun Strowman looked really good. Baron Corbin looked really good. I actually think Baron Corbin's been looking better and better. I think he just needs a little bit more mic work. But Strowman looks... I have to say, Strowman looks really good lately. Like, I didn't think I was going to be that impressed with what they would do for a singles run, but I've been digging it. And I actually kind of thought for a moment there Braun was going to win the whole thing, but Corbin eliminating him the way he did, I'm glad that happened as well. In terms of the finish, it wasn't Roman Reigns, so I can't bitch there.
I can, because this goes back to what I was saying earlier, man. WWE has a chance to build stars, and they will not take a chance on anyone that's not established. And you can't build new people unless you're taking chances on them. And look, Roman Reigns has been shoved down our throats. That sounded weird phrasing. So far, and they need to, and I think your pitch for turning him heel is fucking brilliant. I personally would probably have Taker win that match, in post match have Reigns go off on him. That's probably what I would do, but I do actually enjoy your notion, because you can make it a no DQ match and have him kind of put Taker down. So, but Orton winning, just, I don't know, it sets up Reigns, Orton, but or Wyatt Orton, but now it looks, and I use looks in quotes, that they're not even going to do that. So I don't know what WWE's doing anymore. But I mean, Orton won, Reigns didn't. So I mean, I was grateful for that. But it's kind of like saying, hey, you don't have to eat this gas station burrito. You have to eat this gas station taco. Like, the taco might be a little better, maybe, but they're still poopy, and the end will make you feel bad. So,
and I definitely see where you're going with that. And all I was getting at is like, I think Reigns winning would have been the worst booking they could have done. I think that the reason I didn't mind Randy Orton winning the Royal Rumble is because of what they did to him at SummerSlam. That I really didn't mind, because, I mean, Orton basically took one for the team back at SummerSlam with that. It wasn't even a match, man. It was a massacre with Brock Lesnar. So that's where I really didn't mind it, because I felt that Randy had paid his due on that, because, dude, that was ugly. That was just ugly, and it looked painful beyond pain. But, I would have booked it differently. I think I would have, I probably would have had Bray Wyatt win it. And, which, I mean, will lead us to the Elimination Chamber and how that outcome is going to go. And it's also going to tie into something that you mentioned earlier, but um, Randy Orton winning, that's his second win, right? So at least it wasn't a
Yes.
third or a fourth win. I'll say that as well. But I agree that the Rumble should primarily be for someone who's up and coming. I think Bray really needed it, but again, we'll get into that. And yeah, it was a lackluster end. Again, I'm just glad that it wasn't Reigns. I'm just glad that it wasn't Reigns because I'm sick and tired of that asshole. Like he is, I am just done with him. But that concludes the Royal Rumble, and I'd give it honestly a B minus, C plus B minus.
That's fair.
There were some good spots, but there were some real terrible ones too. Um, and that brings us into the Raw. The SmackDown pay per view, the Elimination Chamber. So
Yep.
the Elimination Chamber, it was not a terrible pay per view. I don't. I don't think it was
It
terrible.
wasn't.
It wasn't like for it being SmackDown only. I thought they did a good job. Um, the very first match of the night was, if I'm seeing this right here, was Mojo Rawley and Kurt Hawkins. I think that opened. Um,
Yeah, I'll be totally honest with you. I saw that match was on the pre-show, and I said I don't need to watch this. So I
so
did.
Mojo Rawley
I just
beat Kurt Hawkins, and I think that's just stupid.
yawn.
Yeah,
But
Jan as well, but with as much hype as they were putting on Kurt Hawkins, that's who needed to win the match. And
true.
Mojo Rawley is just shit in the ring anyway. So I think we can move on from that and to something that I thought was actually a very good match, and I would have loved to have seen it gone 5 more minutes. Becky Lynch and Mickie James.
Yeah. So again, as I've made no secrets, Mickie James is that woman. Just she doesn't look like she's aged a
Mm-hmm.
day. I swear. But uh, yeah, I mean, she looked solid in the ring. Her and Becky have really good chemistry. I would like to see them in a. I think you put it perfectly. I think 5 more minutes would have helped the match. But yeah, it looked they looked solid in the ring against each other. Mickey looks as technically sound she's ever looked in the ring. Becky sold the hell out of
Yep.
that arm injury, which I thought was a nice little piece of psychology to have Mickey go for the arm since it's always Becky going for the arm. You know, plus plus if Mickey's arm is hurt, she can't grab between Trish's legs. So but but overall a damn good match. I really thought. Uh, Sitting there thinking about it, I don't think there's ever been a pay per view, and feel free to correct me. I don't think there's been a pay per view, at least in recent memory, where there's been three women's singles
I
matches.
think
I
this is a
will,
first as well. I could be wrong, but yeah.
yeah,
And I have to say, Mickie James, the match with Asuka, fantastic. The match with Becky Lynch, also fantastic. This is a woman who's coming off of having a baby, what, like 2 years ago? With,
yeah.
oh gosh, what was his name? Wasn't it Magnus?
Magnus, that lucky motherfucker. Damn you, sir.
But for her to come from mom mode to going back,
MILF mode.
right,
Sorry.
to back to wrestling, she looks great. She looks fantastic. Like she's in killer shape. Hasn't missed a beat. Like I'm beyond impressed with to pull off a comeback like that. Like if the rumors are true that we'll see Trish Stratus one more time at a WrestleMania, maybe not this year, obviously, because she's pregnant, but like down the road, um, that gives me high hopes. I'm not saying Trish was the best worker or anything, but hey, some people could come back from that kind of thing and even be better. And I dare say Mickie James is better now, like in terms of her technical prowess, and that I think makes the women's division that gives the women's division on SmackDown a much needed shot in the arm, and I think that it's a great move to bring her back in, and that leads us to Kalisto and Apollo Crews
Oh man, do you just want
and
to take a
Dolph
nap?
Ziggler. Yeah,
Man, sleepy time, man. Yeah, you know it's funny because like the Divas matches they were always referred to, like, or at least in recent couple years, like, oh hey, Divas are on, time for you to go get your snacks or whatever. This was me going, oh, this is my smoke break because I could literally
Right.
give a shit about this match. Yeah, Dolph Ziggler. I feel now I know how you feel about Dolph Ziggler, and you're not wrong. The fact that he's taken a lot of guys' moves that weren't his and just adapted them. Like they even call it the famous her. They don't even call it like the Ziggler
Right.
drop or something like that. Like they just still, or even the rocker drop. They could even call it the rocker dropper since he kind of has the rock star gimmick. But no, they just call it the famous her because Billy Gunn. But so whatever, I guess. But they turned Ziggler heel and they've had him beating up Kalisto and Apollo Crews, and these are two faces that no one gives a shit about. And I'm sorry, and I like Kalisto. I think they actually had something with him as U.S. champ, and they kind of squandered that away. And I think they had something with Apollo. I think Apollo Crews should stay in NXT every 6 months. By the way, I thought that was just too quick of a call up. But yeah, they have so Ziggler jumped Kalisto before the match, and so it was Cruz and Ziggler really 1-on-1. And all I was kind of sitting there thinking is this is being booked like a face where Ziggler has to overcome the odds. Like I know Daniel Bryan's the face, GM or whatever, but it was kind of booked heelishly, if that makes sense. So.
No, I completely agree. It's a very odd way to book something, especially when you're having. You're right. I mean, Dolph Ziggler being the heel going into this 2-on-1, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I mean, hey, I'm glad that Apollo got the pin, right? Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
yes, he
glad
did.
that he did. I mean, yeah, I don't care much for Dolph Ziggler because, again, he just steals people's moves, ring attire, and even gimmicks. But Shawn Michaels,
Oh, you got
a little
coffee?
bit, man. I might need another hit to take that cough away. But
There you
yeah,
go.
man, this didn't even need to be on. This was something that should have been on the pre-show. Honestly, it was. No one cares. No one cares at all. But I'll tell you this much: I did care about this match. Um, Tag Team Turmoil. American Alpha winning. I'm not. Look, I know I'm not big on what's his nuts, Chad Gable,
Ready, William Gable, good sir. You show
but
respect to
but
American Alpha.
but I will say that seeing them win that was a little bit impressive. I would have much rather seen them actually like be in from start to finish. I don't think they were in start to finish.
They were not, and thank you so much for bringing that up. Yes, could not agree
But
more.
I think if I would have booked it, I would have booked it with um them making it to the very end and then just like have Ascension win it instead of Ascension like being the last ones eliminated. Because I thought Ascension has been booked very poorly, but also at the same time I know they had to be punished for one of them not for not passing a wellness policy test. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting moving forward because I mean, American Alpha winning, it's like, well, who else do you put them up against since they just beat what was it, 4 teams or 3 teams? Um,
Yeah,
Something
five
like
teams,
that.
I
It
think.
was
I think it was.
a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're gonna, and again, I think I agree with you that the revival needs to be called up to SmackDown, and I think that they need to be the ones to work with American Alpha next. But nonetheless, I will say this: I thought all the teams looked good at some point, like they all shined a little bit. I have never been too high on the Usos, but I really have been enjoying this run of the Usos more so lately than not.
I
And the
agree.
Ascension as well. I mean, the new face paint is different, but I mean they still look good. And American Alpha looks good too. And I can admit I'm not the highest on them, but I can't think of a better team on SmackDown right now. Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to move forward to see who eventually knocks off American Alpha, and it could be the Revival, much to your own dismay there. But
Yeah, that would be
hey, I
terrible.
love I love the Revival. But anyway, no, go
Yeah,
ahead. Sorry.
No, you're all good. So, what I was gonna say is, it really did just show that the Ascension are just a bunch of goobers because like the Usos beat America Alpha down after they eliminated them. Like they beat them down for almost like three
Yeah.
solid minutes. Just and then the Ascension comes out and you would think it would just be, hey, follow man, that's it. No, they like kind of toyed with them, and then American Alpha still won, and I just thought, God, the Ascension, they were booked so well in NXT, and God, they just suck since, and that's WWE's fault. That's not the Ascension's fault, because I remember when they first brought them in, they were going after like legend tag teams, and they had JBL, who's a heel commentator, talking them down, like, you couldn't lace the LOD's boots. I mean, he's not wrong about that, but you can't have your commentators talking down your wrestlers, on a weekly basis and expect fans to take them seriously. So that they've been booked shitty since day one, since being on the main roster, which is a lot of those NXT guys. I love Breezango. I think it's hilarious, but man, I would actually like them to be like a heel tag team and actually be pushed, because I really, Tyler Breeze is a talented dude. He actually should probably be a IC champ by now. Honestly, I really like Tyler Breeze, but they've fucked him up. So uh, anyway, so moving on to a match that it's gonna hurt me to give Nikki Bell credit, but this match was pretty damn good until the end.
I think the double countout was a nice change of pace, that they just kept fighting each other, didn't care about who won or who lost. This was just about one woman kicking the other woman's ass. And that didn't really bother me per se. Nikki Bella did step up her game a lot in the last few years, actually, because up until she lost the Divas Championship, she lost it to Charlotte, right? And yeah,
Yeah, not a
yeah.
champion.
So I mean, Nikki Bella was putting out good work then. She really was. And then to see her put out same kind of quality after the neck surgery was good to see. And if the rumors are true with what her leading up to with WrestleMania, they'll need to settle this between now and Mania.
Yeah.
Which, spoiler alert, rumor is that we're going to see John Cena and Nikki Bella team up, which, if they book this the way that I think they're going to, man, this is going to be just fucking stupid. But I'll get into that in
Yeah.
just a moment. A good match from both of them. Natalia, of course, works well. She puts out good work. So does Nikki Bella. I would not mind watching this again down the road. Clearly nothing's been settled there. But that leads us to Randy Orton and Luke Harper, which, I would have liked to have seen. I'm just going to say it now. I would have liked to have seen Luke Harper win this one.
I I I I get what you're saying. I do, but I just don't think you can book your Royal Rumble winner to lose his first next big match. But I totally get why you want to see Harper win, because I kind of want to see Harper win too.
Yeah, and for me, it has nothing to do with like Luke Harper being like the oddball face in this love triangle with Bray Wyatt they seem to have. Um, but I've always liked Luke Harper. He reminds me of Bruiser Brody, and everything he does just looks like it hurts. Oh man, if I would love to see Luke Harper work with like like an AJ Styles or any a smaller guy who does flashy moves, so that Harper could show off how strong he is and everything. But um, I think it would have it could have made for an interesting feud leading into Mania, like Luke Harper pinning Randy Orton, who won the Royal Rumble, to question the number one contendership. I don't think it would have been a bad thing so much to give some flexibility there, but I don't know. With the way they're going to end up, I think, booking it, considering, and I'll talk briefly about it when we get into the main event, I don't think this thing with Luke Harper's done, and I don't know. I'll say this: he's looked good since coming off he had major knee surgery so back, like tore his
Yeah.
ACL, and big guys like that who come back from an injury like that don't often look as good as Luke Harper has, and that is good for me as a fan of his, and good for him because I think he's a damn good talent. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's going to do in the future. And get your opinion on that.
He's the bearded Cesaro in the sense that I've been saying for the better part of a year and a half, 2 years, hey, you have something with this guy. You should totally push him. And WWE keeps kind of going like, hey, look over there, and then they don't push him. And I sit. Those are two guys you have that could legit be stars. And I think people forget a couple years ago at TLC, Ziggler and Harper had a hell of a ladder match for the
They
IC
did.
title, and I remember thinking, oh wow, this is his moment, and then just nothing came from it. It's like, god damn it, WWE. So between Cesaro and Harper, who I hope Cesaro ends up on SmackDown because that would make me very happy. These are two guys that WWE can really push, and that the fans are behind. And the fans were behind Harper. They were chanting, "Let's go Harper" during the match. I was like, oh shit, they legit have something here. And I know everyone does a fucking suicide dive. It's almost like it's pretty much old hat at this point. But Harper has a hell of a dive, like of a suicide dive. The way he goes through the ropes, he looks very Daniel Bryan-esque, if you will. It's impressive. So I really enjoyed the match. I thought the RKO counter was fucking impressive. Most RKO counters are, or it seems like it's the one time Orton gives a shit is when it's like, oh, I can hit an RKO now. So I really enjoyed the match. I do agree with you. I don't think the feud with Orton's over. My theory is that we will get Orton, Wyatt, Harper at Mania. That's my theory.
And I agree with you.
Oh, see. So then we move on to Alexa Bliss versus Naomi. Sorry, whenever Naomi that woman. Whew. So I will. This match was good until the ending because Naomi botched the split-legged moonsault. She overshot it, and it was just very noticeable. I was like, okay, but. Did you think this was just a really dumb booking decision?
Yeah, honestly, I thought Alexa Bliss needed the win more. I think she needed to knock off a contender to show a more, a dominant run as champ. Maybe lose it at Mania, but Naomi looks good in the ring for the most part because, again, she's super athletic. Her split-legged moonsault overall is pretty good. I just have a hard time getting behind her, even though I wouldn't mind getting behind her. Oh, thank you. But she, how can I put this? I've not been impressed with her mic work. I've been more impressed with Alexa Bliss than anything else.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Naomi certainly warrants a look at for women's champ over on SmackDown because I think the women's SmackDown roster for champion, it needs, between that and Raw, I say Raw has the better roster. And I think they're just trying the belt on with, different people on SmackDown to see not just who the crowd gets behind, but who runs with the moment. And I really feel bad for Becky Lynch more than anyone else because I think that was just a wasted opportunity with her entirely. But as women's champion, and I think they're doing the same thing to Alexa Bliss right now too. But I mean, hey, if Naomi makes a believer out of me in the upcoming weeks, right on, and I hope she does. I would not have booked this, but that's just me talking. And speaking of booking. That leads us to the main event, the Elimination Chamber match.
Yeah.
So, first, the new chamber. The new chamber, I was not impressed with. I'm impressed with the size of it, but I'm just going to say it now. The pads on the steel plate. Come on now, guys. Part of the you just made it softer. You made it softer. Granted, the new chamber is huge. It looks crazy. Someone's going to fall from the top of it. at some point. But the pads on the metal grate, I mean, granted, those guys do need to protect themselves and everything, but it really, I think, made everyone look weak. Like, everyone who participated in it, I think it made them look weak. So I would have had. So Bray Wyatt won the WWE Championship. Good for Bray Wyatt. I'm
Yep.
happy that he's champion. I think I would have had AJ Styles hold on to it from Royal Rumble to lose it here, and not give John Cena a 2-week title run. That is fucking dumb. That is stupid. It's unnecessary. It's completely unnecessary. Like, that just, that booking makes no sense whatsoever, to have Cena win at the Rumble only to drop it 2 weeks later. I would have had AJ Styles have his title reign end there to Bray Wyatt versus the way they've done it. The Miz, the Miz's reactions when he's in the chamber were just hilarious.
They were. I will give him that.
I have to say, the little exchange between Styles and Ambrose on top of one of the pods, where Styles was having his face ran into the plexiglass, that looked pretty good. Like, especially like the smack of his head, like that was a good little moment there. But seeing Wyatt eliminate Cena, I thought was good. Baron Corbin looked good. I would have liked to have seen him last a bit longer than he did.
I agree with that, but they were clearly setting up Ambrose Corbin for Mania. Like, it was one of those things I pretty much had bookmarked going in, so I wasn't really surprised.
Yeah.
But I do agree.
Yeah, and it's going to make things, going into WrestleMania, look a bit interesting, and we can totally segue into this now. Bray Wyatt, WWE champion, I have no problem with that at all. None whatsoever. I think it's overdue. If he, going into Mania and having it just be a Wyatt family main event in terms of Randy Orton, Luke Harper, which they're saying they're going to get a new number one contender like next week because Randy Orton said, I'm not going to go against Bray Wyatt. I think Luke Harper is going to win that. And I agree with you. It's going to be a triple threat. Bray Wyatt better win.
I agree.
He absolutely better win. And I think Bray Wyatt needs to hold on to that kind of that title until SummerSlam at the very least, to legitimize his title reign. And he needs a legitimate title reign because how he's been booked at WrestleMania the last few years has been terrible. He should have beat Cena at Mania. I think he should have been the one to end the streak against The Undertaker because the new face of fear, that whole bit. And I think that was the last time The Undertaker looked actually any good, was that WrestleMania match he had with him. But yeah, I would have done that. And so Bray Wyatt needs this. He needs this WrestleMania to be his moment. And I really hope that ends up being the case. And speaking of WrestleMania, I gotta say this, man. Like, if they do this, God, man, like, I don't know. Like, I'm not looking forward to Fastlane.
I'm not.
I think this is the end of the road for the Kevin Owens show. Which I think how I would book it is entirely different, but I mean, this is what I see happening. I see Kevin Owens dropping it to Goldberg, and then, of course, the match between Goldberg and Lesnar is for the Universal title, which, of course, Lesnar will win, which they'll need to give Lesnar something to do since he's retired from MMA officially.
Kicked out of him.
Oh, well, yeah. No, totally. I mean, yeah, he's being suspended, but he flat out said, I'm retiring, or some shit like that this week. But Goldberg, Lesnar does not need the Universal title.
It doesn't.
I would much rather see Jericho, Kevin Owens be for the Universal title than the U.S. title. I'd rather see Jericho drop the U.S. title to Sami Zayn. And have Jericho just go into WrestleMania challenging for the Universal title. Which, by the way, I have to say, I'm sad that Jericho and Owens is over. Heartbreaking, man. And I have to say, real quick, I loved Corey Graves' commentary and reaction during the Festival of Friendship. Way he sounded when he's like, "Stop it, Kevin." You can just like hear the sincerity in his voice. Which, by the way, Corey Graves, best play-by-play man in the business today. Michael Cole, take a back seat, get that shit out of here. Let Corey Graves take the reins.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt you, but that actually segues into something I wanted to bring up with you. So that's perfect. You brought that up. So, TNA or Impact, whatever the fuck they're calling themselves now, I don't even know. I think it's Impact Wrestling, but well, Dixie Carter's out, so hopefully it can only get better. But they have this segment on their YouTube channel called My First Day, where they talk to like wrestlers and producers about their first day of the company, and so they're talking to Josh Matthews, who I thought sucked in WWE. I think he sucks now. I've heard some of his commentary. I think it's atrocious. Actually, let me rephrase that. I know it's atrocious. He sucks. And he said, and I quote, I've made no qualms about the fact that I am the best play-by-play announcer in the world. He's not even the best one in Florida, but he said he said in the world, and because I was talking to I was talking to Tim, who we work with, and he told me he's heard that. I was like, that can't be true. There's no goddamn way he was dumb enough to say that. And I went and looked up the video. Yep, he says he's the best play-by-play announcer in the world. And the first thing I thought was, oh my god, were Corey Graves, JR, and Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness all on like a plane, and like the plane went down, and just it's been. Because that is the only way that Josh Matthews could be the best play-by-play commentator in the world. Just what an ignorant ass statement to make. It just, he sucks. He's so bad. And the only good thing about Josh Matthews is at Survivor Series, I believe it was 2005. When JBL gave him a clothesline from hell during his title match against Booker T, I laughed my ass off. I was like, thank God. That's when I started actually liking JBL, and he was still a heel at the time.
Yeah, no, I heard the same statement, and it didn't even register to me, because it's like, okay, Josh, sure, you're the best one in the world. Let's just tell him that so he believes it and just goes about whatever he's doing, which is nothing. Yeah, man, Josh Matthews, get that shit out of here, man. No one cares about you or what job you have in professional wrestling. We don't care. Call yourself the best play-by-play commentator in the world. It does not legitimize you into that field like it did for CM Punk when he said he's the best in the world, because that guy could actually back it up when he needed to. Josh Matthews, fuck you.
CM Punk was a better commentator than Josh Matthews was.
Absolutely. Like, and wait, wasn't Josh Matthews a wrestler for a short time too?
Yeah, he was on first season of Tough Enough.
So let's count how many real quick. How many wrestlers turned announcers were better than Josh Matthews? CM Punk, Roddy Piper, Mr. Perfect, Macho Man Randy Savage, Nigel McGuinness. Shawn Michaels, when he used to commentate Raw, was way better than Josh Matthews was. Waller, Jesse Ventura, Gorilla Monsoon.
Yep.
All of them were better than Josh Matthews on his best day. I'm going to say it one more time. Josh Matthews, fuck you. Okay. I feel better now.
Dude, I'm happy to hear that, man. This is therapeutic too, and I'll tell you right now, there's no doubt in my mind if TNA called me and James and they're like, hey, we need you guys to do play-by-play for a night, we would be better than Josh Matthews. There's no.
You know what? I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, because that just gave me an idea. One of these days, we should record our own commentary for a match that we're seeing cold, haven't seen before, know what spots are coming up or anything like that. And I say, and let's make it a TNA match. Let's make it a TNA match that, just so that we can actually compare ourselves to Josh Matthews. And let's let our listeners and other people decide. Because fuck Josh Matthews.
Yeah, he's really bad, and like he's really generally bad. And I remember he used to do I believe it was Superstars with when CM Punk was on there, just randomly when Punk got injured, and he would just show up and do commentary. And I remember Josh Matthews handed I think he handed Punk oh no, I think it was NXT, maybe it was NXT, I can't remember, but yeah, Punk and Josh Matthews would commentate together, and you could just tell CM Punk was like, "You're the worst commentator. Why can I just not be commentating Joey Styles style and just and just commenting by myself?" Joey Styles. That's another person. Like, I mean, he's been phoning it in, I would say, the last couple of years, but he's still better than Josh Matthews. Yeah, Josh Matthews sucks,
Raven,
but,
when he was Johnny Polo, better commentator than Josh Matthews. Yeah. You, sir, Josh Matthews, should be ashamed of yourself and your career. Call it a career now. Just go away. Don't ever come back.
I would rather listen to coonish Byron Saxton than ever listen to and I'm sorry, WWE, can you find a black commentator who's not like one of the crows from Dumbo became a person? Because every goddamn black commentator they have just sounds like I'm expecting them to say waka waka after they stop at the end of one of their fucking lines. It's terrible. I hate it. Who's the new guy they have on NXT? Perry Mason, right. Percy Mason, whatever his name is. That guy, he's terrible. I'm like, God damn it, can you get a good black commentator? Booker T, who I love, he was terrible on commentary. Otunga is maybe the worst commentator they have, and that's actually saying something, because their commentary team is pretty bad. Get Renee Young on commentary. Please get Renee Young on commentary. She can go from SmackDown to Talking Smack. She hosts both. She hosts the goddamn Talking Smack show. Just have her go from commentary and host it.
I completely agree. And let's just say, and I'm going to say this about David Otunga. I wanted to give David Otunga a chance. I really did. But his play-by-play during the Cena Styles match at the Royal Rumble, dude, like, are you sure he's married to what's her name, Jennifer Hudson? Are you sure he's married to him or to her? Because it sounded like David Otunga was about to slob John's knob at any moment during that match. I'm just saying it, man. Like, he was so over the moon for John Cena. It's like, dude, really? Like, are you guys dating? Because it sounds like that. Which, speaking of John Cena and dating, I'm calling it now. So the rumor is that John Cena and Nikki Bella are going to tag up for a mixed tag match at WrestleMania against The Miz and Maurice.
Yeah.
I am saying, I'm calling it now. The match will happen. Nikki Bella will retire after the match, and only because during the match or after the match, John Cena will finally propose to Nikki Bella, and John Cena will be off TV for the next X amount of months while they do the big wedding thing, because that's how they're going to promote Total Bellas. Because if you haven't noticed, Total Bellas, Nikki Bella is now the executive producer. So I think they're going to make this a humongous deal, especially with John Cena popping the question. They're going to liken it to Randy Savage and Elizabeth's, reunion at WrestleMania 7 after he lost.
Which is fucking insulting.
Oh, they will. They will, and it is insulting because that was a moment there. Like, I remember watching it. I watched that match. Oh God, maybe a year ago between Savage and Warrior. Which, damn, that's a good match. But the moment after where Savage and Elizabeth have their reunion, like, how can you not feel some heartstring pulls there? Because let's face it. Nobody cares about John Cena and Nikki Bella. And you know why? Because they both come off like assholes on that TV show. Especially with how they treated Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella. I mean, especially John Cena. Like it's like, dude, you're a douche. You do a lot for kids and the Make a Wish thing. I applaud you for that. I actually do too, but he still
I
comes off
do.
like a douche on that
Me too.
TV show.
No, it very much seems. Well, I mean, but then for every Make a Wish and all that, but then you hear about little things about like how JTG was gonna get those sunglasses, and Cena was like, "Hey man, that's gonna kind of push into my merch. You can go ahead and wait your turn on that." And it's like, it's like you're kind of an asshole. Like you're clearly not hurting for money. I've seen your house, and I still genuinely hate John Cena for that Zack Ryder storyline with him and Eve Torres, and how Cena acted like Eve was a slut. I'm like, yeah, I'm making out with your supposed best friend's girl in front of him while he's wheelchair bound. Yeah, you're kind of a son of a bitch. And WWE's just like, oh, Cena, like you love his colorful shirts, don't you? I can't stand John Cena. If I met John Cena, I'd tell him to his face and be like, yeah, I think you suck. I was like, I don't care how many world titles you win. You're the Tom Brady of wrestling.
Right.
I don't give a shit how many people think. I don't give a shit how many people say you're good. And I still think you're no good some bitch. And I would say it to his face. I do not. Well, if I was at a con and Cena was like, "Hey man, hey, nice to meet you," like, "Oh yeah, it is nice for you to meet me." Yeah, yeah. Can't stand John Cena and Nikki Bella. Everyone's always like, "Oh man, she's so hot." I would take Mickey or Bailey or Sasha or Becky over Nikki Bella 10 times out of 10. Just off the fact alone that she comes off like you said, like such a bitch on Total Bellas or
She
Total
does.
Divas
Yeah,
or
she does.
whatever. But
And it's a,
but
I'm gonna say it like this. They're going to do that. I personally feel they're going to do that at Mania, and I'm calling it now. That John Cena proposes at WrestleMania, the whole bit. When that happens, our follow-up, episode of that show, I'm going to say these words. Worst, or well, maybe not these exact words, but I'm going to say something along these lines. Worst use of time at a WrestleMania ever. Because that is time where someone could be having a breakout match. And instead, they're going to do this stupid marriage proposal bullshit. I'm calling it now. They're going to do it. Calling it right now. It's a waste of time. It's a
yeah,
waste of fucking time and money and resources, the whole bit. And it's also makes John Cena's 2-week title reign just stupid as well. If you're not going to have him go into WrestleMania as the champion, that is an unnecessary title win. And it's terrible fucking booking. I cannot get over how to me it's just nonsense. But I don't know, man.
so kind of wrapping up the show here, man. As far as Mania, I'm just gonna say this is the one thing I'm intrigued by is who Styles is gonna end up facing, because the rumor that's been around for the last couple months is Shane McMahon, and to be totally honest with you, as interesting as that sounds, Styles has been the MVP of the company for last year. He deserves better than Shane McMahon fucking Mania. So what I propose, because he already said if he has one more match, he wants it to be against AJ Styles. I want Styles Angle at Mania.
You
That's what I
think
want.
you think that Angle's gonna wrestle at WrestleMania 2 nights after being inducted into the Hall of Fame?
I think so. I think Angle is going to come back from one more match. Like I said, I saw Angle. I mean, over the last year, he's had several interviews, and he said that one last WWE match, he would want Styles to be the guy to face him, and they never had less than a 4-star match in TNA. Like their matches they had, if you look up their I believe it's a last man standing match, I believe at Slammiversary, maybe about 4 years ago. It's a ridiculous match, and it's so goddamn good. They always put on just incredible 5-star matches, and their chemistry was just impeccable. So Styles Cena, good God, Styles Angle at Mania, give him 15 minutes. I'd
Give
give him
half
20
hour,
myself, but
honestly, man. Like
yeah,
let it just go. But no, I feel you.
But yeah, so I mean, as we kind of wrap up, I mean, is there anything at Mania you're excited for? Because I mean, we've both have kind of, and this might be in a whole nother point, but I'm starting to feel that pay-per-view fatigue. I'm really starting to feel it because it seems like there's a pay-per-view every fucking week now, and it's just a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, for Mania, anything you're
Um,
kind of pumped for? Or?
I'm hope. I'm hoping they change some things up this year. I'm hopeful for a little bit of change. This is where I'm going with it. They're gonna have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal again, and I love battle royals. I always have. I thought Baron Corbin winning last year was cool. Um, I hope that the winner of the Andre Battle Royal gets a title shot at SummerSlam. That's what I want to see. Um, because that's what
Okay.
they should have done with the King of the Ring back in the day. But clearly, we all know how that went. Which, by the way, bring back the King of the Ring, make it a pay-per-view, make the winner have to win 3 matches in a night. Do that. We need that. We need that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Get a little bit of a formula to what sets up number one contenders, because that gives you the opportunity to look forward to certain pay-per-views during the year. That's why I like the Royal Rumble, because I like to know, like, I like to have a dramatic build for a pay-per-view like WrestleMania. But nonetheless, in terms of WrestleMania, I mean, I'm always looking forward to the Battle Royal. Styles, I mean, him and McMahon may be a good match. Um, at this stage, there's nothing I'm really looking forward to about WrestleMania. I mean, the triple threat of Orton, Harper, and Wyatt could be good, but anything short of Wyatt winning would go against what they need to do moving forward. Because again, you need to bring up new stars, the whole bit like that. I would. I don't know. There's a lot that has to be done in order to make WrestleMania exciting. I couldn't care less about Lesnar and Goldberg. I really couldn't. I don't think it's going to be that good of a match. Um, I think Lesnar. I think Lesnar. He may need the win just because of the squash and everything like that. Even though I don't know, man. Like, it just seems so underwhelming. Everything about WrestleMania, thinking about it, doesn't seem that good right now. I mean, look at the potential card, right? Undertaker, Reigns, don't care. Lesnar, Goldberg, don't care. Nikki Bella and John Cena against The Miz and Maurice, don't care. Um, I mean, like, these are things that are being heavily rumored. Styles and McMahon could be cool. Don't really care, because because again, that's booking for me though. I want Styles booked at the
Yeah.
top. I want Bray Wyatt booked at the top. I would give me Styles and Wyatt at WrestleMania. I will care about that.
Yeah.
I think also too, Orton and Styles would have been a much better title match for Mania than what we're having right now. But again, that's other things. The WWE doesn't like to mix things up as much as they should, and I think it's going to really hurt them down the road overall, because they're not developing as much talent as they should. I mean, what do you do with Samoa Joe at Mania? You know, I mean, you could
Yeah.
put. I would not mind. I would not mind Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn some more. Um, I mean, again, it just depends. I mean, what are they going to do with Braun Strowman? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
other than the only other thing I can think of is you have Braun Strowman win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind. There is one thing about WrestleMania that I want to get off my chest that I really hope they don't do. I read
Talk to me.
that Hulk Hogan is going to make his return to WWE at WrestleMania. I read it a few times this week, actually, and I think it was Dave Metzler was the one saying that it's going to happen then. And he's a very reliable source.
Yes, he is.
Hulk Hogan. I need to say this about Hulk Hogan, and I want to kind of put it to bed.
All right.
I was the biggest Hulkamaniac growing up. I was at his Hall of Fame induction in 2005. I saw him and McMahon at WrestleMania 19 in Seattle. In terms of a Hulk Hogan match, I love his match with The Rock at WrestleMania 18. Honestly, you could have booked it the other way, and nobody would have minded if Hogan would have went over The Rock. The Hogan way that he normally does, especially with how JR booked it when he dropped the leg on The Rock. And when the moment JR said he beat Andre the Giant with that move, you go, oh shit, he did beat Andre the Giant with that move. Nonetheless, though, loved the 2002 comeback for Hogan. Loved the 2003 run until he became Mr. America. I loved the Hulkster.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved him. Felt so bad for him when his wife, ditched out on him and all that stuff. Hulk Hogan does not deserve the opportunity to come back onto WWE television aside from vignettes that show the past. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
You can leave him in the Hall of Fame if you want, but he does not deserve to ever be back on WWE television in a live capacity ever again. I think what he said is uncalled for. Absolutely uncalled for. I get the context that it was all set in, but it's still uncalled for. I think yes, he should not have secretly been taped. I completely agree. Should he have won the lawsuit against Gawker? Absolutely he should have. But there's no way that he should ever be back, on TV. Like, WWE is at a point right now where they can... God, I hate getting political on this, but I almost feel like I have to.
Go ahead, man.
I have talked to people who, feel that Hulk should not be punished for what he said because they're just words. If you want to change how people are and change the way the world works, you have to take stances against that kind of shit. And WWE is in a position right now where they can say, you know what? Hulk is a legend in the business. Hulk is, his contribution, his run in the 80s and 90s will never be forgotten because it had never been done before. But we're not putting him back on TV. Because Hulk needs that exile. WWE needs to exile him for what he said. And if they put him in WrestleMania, and I have a feeling, a couple years ago, if Hulk, because, Hulk wanted one more match, and he's like, I wanted to be at WrestleMania and all of this stuff. If they really wanted to give him one more match as a send-off, then that really terrible Sting match he had in TNA, and it was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
You could have had Hulk win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, like the first year it came in or the second year, whichever, I can't remember who won it the second time. Who won it the second time? Big Show. You could have had Big Show win it this year, by eliminating Shaq instead of having a one-on-one match with them, which will be terrible in itself, even though Big Show looks really good these days.
He does. I'll give him that much.
You could have had Hulk win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal then, and have him call it a career. Have his whole send-off be that way. And I have a feeling that if the rumor is true, they're going to have him on TV. I really don't want him to be in that Battle Royal. I sure as hell don't want him to win, but I really think he doesn't deserve to be on TV anymore anyway for what he said. That killed it for me. That really killed it for me, hearing what he said. And I listened to the audio, and that's not okay, man. It's not okay. Let's face it,
Yeah.
Black Machismo, you're my friend, man. You are my friend beyond just podcast. We work together the whole bit like that. And I mean, your thoughts on this, man. I mean, what he said really honestly targets you more than
Yeah.
me. But I have to say that, like, there's a line, man, because if they put him on TV, it goes to show that consequences really aren't that. And I need to hear your opinion, man. I mean, like, talk to me on this, man, because it's WrestleMania, and
I
I need to hear your bit on this.
I Here's the thing. I mean, and you, for those of you guys who I'm sure are plenty who have listened to our movie reviews, I get political more than maybe I want to sometimes, but with this, I listened to audio too, and I remember it was one of those things where I went, of course Hogan said this. It was just generally one of those things where I went, yeah, I can't. I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised. I was more surprised I hadn't heard anything like this earlier, because let's be honest. I mean, Hogan went through some shit. I mean, he had the sex tape. His wife really just fucked him over, and took the money and ran. I mean, granted, we don't know what happened in that house. I'm sure he wasn't blameless, but what she did was still jacked up. He was funding his daughter's hilarious music career, which was really good, and she's a really good singer. So, so I mean, gone through some shit, but you're right. There's no reason to ever drop that word, and I but but this is where I'm gonna kind of rip into WWE here, is because WWE really loves to act like they're this beacon of virtue, and they're not. WWE is one of the most corrupt. I mean, they're basically the wrestling version of FIFA, and I know some people say that's really strong, but you're talking about a company. We talked about Mickey James earlier. They had a whole storyline where Michelle McCool and Layla were calling her Piggy James, and it was just a whole body shaming angle. That's all it was, and Mickey James, was she thicker back then? Yeah. Was she out of shape? Absolutely fucking not. It wasn't even like, it was ridiculous to even think that she was out of shape, but she wasn't as thin as Michelle McCool, so she's fucking hideous. I remember a lot of shit that I don't think people remember when Cena and the King, it was on a Raw. They were talking about Vicky Guerrero and how fat she was, and I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool. Her husband's been dead for like 4 years, and you guys are just sitting here ripping into her. So for all the Be a Star campaign, hell, Vince McMahon called John Cena his nigger on TV, and then they have Booker T walk by with Charmel and go, tell me he didn't just say that. And they play it off for comedy. So WWE acting like they're this beacon, it's really quite a load of bullshit. So for them to bring back, and I got really kind of offended when WWE was like, we don't support Hulk Hogan and this and da da da. It's like, yeah, you only you only support your own insanity when it's done under your corporate umbrella, not when former employees have done it. So, a real double standard with WWE. Oh, and the other gym that I remember, WrestleMania 19, which I still fucking hate Triple H for not putting Booker T over, but in all the promos, saying, you're not here to be a wrestler, you're here to make me laugh, you're here to dance and make me feel entertained, and someone like you will never be champion. Just all the racist undertones in the goddamn world, and Booker T loses the match. So, I mean, so spare me, WWE, when you do that whole, we're be a star, don't bully bullshit. Um, I agree with you, though. I think bringing him back sends a bad message. What did he win for that case? Like 70
It,
million, something like that. Like, he
he
won a good chunk of
won,
money.
like, it was two decisions that were put in favor to him, and it was going to be in excess of $130 million. But he's he just got paid out for this too. He got paid out for a lot less, and it was because, like, it was either get paid out now in this large sum or try to get every dollar that you were promised. And he ended up getting paid out like $30 million thereabout, just like in the tail end of December, like, because Gawker had to pay out then. It was like coming down to that. And the only way I would even dare say that you could let Hulk Hogan be back out on TV is if he donated every damn dime of those winnings to, like, the United Negro College Fund, man. Like, like something along those
Yeah.
lines. And then if he needed a paycheck, okay, cool. You did that. I would say it's okay to come back out. That shows that you're taking all of this thing that would set him up for life and donating it to that, or putting it towards finally paying off what he owes to the family of the child that, you know, is, or he's not even a child, he's a grown man, but
Oh yeah,
Nick's,
Nick's
well,
friend.
you call him a friend, but yeah,
Well,
that
not
whole
me. Yeah,
scenario
yeah.
there. Do something with what you were just awarded. If you're gonna hoard that money and then come out on TV, dude, shame on you. Yeah, and like at this point, if Hulk wanted to take that money and then just hide away in a house for the rest of his life, fine. Do what you got to do. Thank you for your contribution to the thing that we're talking about today in professional wrestling. But if you want to have your cake and eat it too, man, fuck you. That's all I have to say. And I was a big dude. I was a Hulk man. I am not now, dude. I am not now. I used to enjoy even when he would come out like after, you know, the last couple of years whenever he'd come out and, you know, just hype up a crowd. I ate it up like a fucking cat, you know, just I fucking ate it up, dude, just because I always dug his promos. I
Yeah.
always dug all of it, man. And this is I don't know. I think WWE will lose a lot of fans and lose a lot if they put him out at WrestleMania. And I think it's completely unnecessary. And yeah, man, don't do it. That's all I have to say. Um,
Yeah, they're going to. I would be, if it's not this year, it'll be next year. Like I would legit like bet that they will have him back in WWE for the next
and
18 months.
you know the thing
But
is too. I'm sorry to cut you off there. This just hit me
no, you're
too.
good.
Like if I were WWE as a company, um, you know, like I said, I wouldn't put him out on TV or anything like that. You know, there's going to come a day where he passes away. And of course, they're going to be faced with the whole tribute video thing. I would address what he said then and say, we don't condone what he did, but we appreciate, you know, we don't condone what he said, but we appreciate what he did for the business. And because of that and, you know, his run of Hulkamania, you know, we have fans, we had fans in the 80s and we had all of this who, you know, became parents themselves and showed, you know, kids the product that we have today, which you are fans of now. So we have to thank him. But it doesn't mean what he said or did
Yeah,
in that leaked tape is okay. But I don't know, man. Like to me, I just it really bums me out, dude. It bummed me out so much, and I think that um it yeah. I guess just repeat what I said before, that he doesn't deserve to be back on WWE TV. And yeah, that's just I guess the one thing that they need to avoid, I think, the most at this year's WrestleMania is putting Hulk Hogan out on it. So while I'm not really looking forward to anything at WrestleMania, I am curious to see how that plays out. But if they're smart, they'll keep him out.
well, you know, so I could forgive Hulk Hogan under three conditions. Um, if he gave like even if he gave $1 million to the NAACP, I'd be like, you know what? Okay, 2 million would be sweeter, but you know, let's say he gives 3/5 of his money,
Right.
but, yeah, so that would be the first condition. Second off, I get to make out with Brooke Hogan, not just because I find her attractive, but because I know that would piss him off. And third, most hilarious, he comes out and he beats out the New Day just to add fuel to the flames. They don't like
Only. Okay, okay. So if he came out and beat up on the New Day, he has to be Hollywood Hulk Hogan. He has to have the 5 o'clock shadow. He has to wear black. He has to have the NWO shirt on, the whole bit. He has to do it that way than anything else. But of course, like, he couldn't beat up New Day by himself. So I mean, New Day would have to just totally just wreck him.
Yeah. Like, maybe that's how it's therapeutic. You just have every black wrestler on the roster, so you have Apollo Crews come out, and the New Day, and uh, Rich Swann and Cedric Alexander. You just have all the black, like every black wrestler in the company come out, hit their finisher on them, and just leave. And then WWE can say, "Hey, see, it's totally even now."
Oh man. Oh God. Yeah. I don't know.
That
Man. It's just,
that that's
that
that's
would
what I
be.
do. But
It had. I mean, that could work, but still, though, the only problem is that, like, if they do it once, they're more apt to do it again, and I don't know, man. Like, it's fucking done, dude. Like, just go the fuck away, man. Like, uh,
yeah,
I don't know. But let's segue into one last thing. To wrap
of
everything
course.
up, I don't know if you heard this morning. We haven't had a chance to talk about it, but this morning, WWE legend George the Animal Steel passed away, 79 years old. Um,
Yeah,
Fun fact about George the Animal Steel: he was a history teacher as well. Yeah, and when he
really.
retired from wrestling, he was primarily a history teacher again. The Iron Sheik, to paraphrase what he said on Twitter today, called him, basically the most intelligent man in the room. Um, I've watched some George the Animal Steel matches, primarily during the whole Randy Savage, Elizabeth gimmick, like the Beauty and the Beast bit they had going on there. He was not fun in the
Yeah.
ring. He didn't look the best in there, but he was definitely entertaining. Um, I think I'm going to have a turnbuckle for dinner tonight and for him. But
There you go.
just a legend passing away. I think at the same time, it's sad that he passed away, but at the same time, he was 79 years old. It's not like he passed away from drugs or anything like that a lot of these younger guys do. Um, he was truly an entertaining character, man. Everyone is going to remember that gimmick. Um, it was that unique, and it's sad to hear of his passing, but him, Savage and Elizabeth are having one more round upstairs, and you know, um, I hope it's not a trend for this year to have someone other people pass away, because we also had, I believe it's Chavo Guerrero Sr. He
Yeah.
passed away this week as well, or was it the week before? It might have been the week before. But yeah, just want to get your thoughts on the passing of George the Animal Steel.
So I will say for me, of course I go back to, him biting the turnbuckles. That's immediately where, my brain goes. I remember him turning face because I remember he was teaming with Nikolai Volkov and Iron Sheik, and I remember he turned face because I believe they were fighting Ricky Steamboat, if memory serves correctly. And I can't remember who his partners were, but I remember because I associate him with Captain Lou Albano's which is how I remember. And then of course he had a really good feud with Savage later on in the 80s because he's had this crush on Miss Elizabeth, and it was crazy as a kid to see that. So um, yeah, it's crazy, man, because I guess the older we're getting as God on God, it just makes me sad to hear myself say the term older, but it's crazy you think about some of these guys who are just larger than life, and unfortunately they're passing on. And yeah, Chavo Senior, who of course legend in Mexico. I know a lot of younger fans will remember him as a Chavo Classic when he won the cruiserweight title,
Right.
which I actually thought was pretty fucking funny. And but yeah, man, two guys who definitely had their followings and contributed a lot to the business. And you're right, he was never like, he wasn't Bob Backlund in the ring, George Animal Steel, but he was entertaining, and that's just as important as being good in the ring. And a lot of people have been able to really kind of build their whole persona around just being entertaining, and he was one of those guys. So, uh, yeah, pretty fucking sad, but yeah, not a good start to the year. We've already had two legendary wrestlers die. Can we like not have 2017 be like 2016 was, with just all the celebrity deaths. It would be really cool if it wouldn't be like that, because yeah,
I
I
definitely
really don't
agree
want
with
another
you
year of
there,
that.
and
But
you know, I think if you want to, if you want to sum up George the Animal Steel, if memory serves, oh God, I got to remember this now. Like I could be entirely off the mark here, and I apologize in advance if I am. Um, I think what'll sum up George the Animal Steel the most. There's, for me at least, I think it was WrestleMania 2. He had the title shot against Randy Savage for the Intercontinental title. And if memory serves, he came out with, and I think it was because WrestleMania 2 had the 3 locations. It was Madison Square
that's
Garden,
correct. Yeah,
um, Madison Square Garden, the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago, and then Los Angeles, wasn't it, for the last part? Yeah, so it was the 3
I
different
believe so. Yeah,
events, 3 different time zones, 3 different commentary team, and I think Savage and Steel was the main event for Madison Square Garden, because I know it was the Battle Royal for Chicago, of course Hogan and Bundy in L.A. But seeing George the Animal Steel presenting the roses to Elizabeth and having Savage just lose his cool, I think just encapsulates it entirely. Just because if you ever heard George the Animal Steel talk in an interview, he's very intelligent. Like he's a very well spoken man. But to see him, to do the whole, I don't want to. It sounds terrible saying it like this, but to do the mindless beast bit, um, to see it there
yeah.
really personified what that whole feud was all about. I think WrestleMania 2, even though he was in Steamboat's corner for WrestleMania 3 against, Savage and Steamboat, arguably one of the best matches of all time, he didn't have the biggest role to play into that. But I think 2 is where it was at for him, the Flowers and Elizabeth, and I'll never forget it, man. He was definitely a unique character, and I think a lot of up and comers, Dolph Ziggler, even though he's not really an up and comer, could learn to be as unique as George the Animal Steel, and that's going to be missed the most, man. He was that unique. So, on that note, I think it's time to wrap it up. I am of course OJ Black Machismo. Thank you so much again.
Oh, anytime, sir. Next week, we're going to do our top, because there's not another pay per view for another couple weeks. So I mean, yeah, nothing until March 5th, which is
Dumb Lane. I like that better.
Fast Lane. Ugh. But Dumb Lane, yeah, Dumb Lane. Dumb Lane end of the derp is what I think I'm gonna call it. But we're gonna do our top 10 favorite matches next week. I've already started working on a list. It's going to take a while, but so I've already done extensive research for this. But do our top 10 best matches, and then we'll just review Raw and SmackDown. So it will be a shorter show.
Indeed,
We just had a lot to get
indeed.
to this
And
week. So
I just want to do one quick shout out before we wrap this up here. One of the reasons why we had so much to cover and couldn't record before, I had a personal loss here, and that I had to attend to. One of my flat out oldest and dearest friend passed away, but he also had a podcast once upon a time with another friend of mine. It was called Geek Nerd Dork, and I just want to give a shout out to those who did Geek Nerd Dork, and dedicate this to my buddy Adam, who passed away, who had been getting me on podcasts for the longest time, and now here I am doing one with Black Machismo. So, Adam, this one's for you, buddy, and this will definitely be a much shorter
shout
one
out.
next week, and we'll see you guys next time.